Welcome to the Please Suck Less podcast, a podcast where one guy shares his views of where the fire service can improve. Thanks for listening. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Please Suck Less podcast. I'm your host, David Polakov. So let's jump right into it. Do we all know people that work in our business, whether it's the fire service or whatever, that overestimate how good they actually are, but think that they're really good at something? A couple of weeks ago, I wrote on the Instagram page for the Please Suck Less Instagram page, something called the Dunning Kruger effect. And in a nutshell, it's basically people that overestimate how good they are in a certain field when they actually aren't, or to lay it out in layman's terms, like I said, people think they're good, but in reality, they actually suck at something. In the fire service, this is dangerous. This can be disastrous. So what I like to do is to I want to talk about how do we spot these people and how do we combat not falling into that particular trap. First and foremost, you need to recognize what your shortcomings are, and everybody has them. I'll tell you a little story. When I was a captain, I had in my station an engine, a tower, an ambulance, and a medic unit. I'm not a paramedic, but I was responsible to ensure that the medications that the medic unit carried were purchased and to make sure that they had the correct inventory on there. Well, it would have done me no good to try to fumble my way through that. So what I did was obviously recognizing my shortcoming and that I'm not a medic. I don't consider that a shortcoming, but I'm not a paramedic. So I had my master paramedic order all the medical supplies for me. She knew exactly what needed to be on there. She knew exactly the dosages and all that stuff. So it wouldn't have been in my best interest to try to fake my way through that because I would have ended up making mistakes. Recognizing your shortcomings, having the people in place to help you with your blind spots is crucial. When you build a team and you fill it full of yes men, people that are just going to agree with everything that you have to say and think the sun rises and sets on everything that you do, in the long run, that is going to be disastrous for you. You need to have people that can respectfully challenge the things that you say, the things that you do, if they feel that they may not be right. You need to be able to put your ego in check to allow people to ask questions to make sure that at the end, we're on a winning team. So you do have these people that are out there that just are so afraid to admit that they don't know something to the point that they will put their reputation in jeopardy. They'll never gain that leadership credibility. And in the end, they're never going to be respected. I respect the person that can look me in the eye and say they don't know something and that they can go ahead and turn around and ask questions or go talk to subject matter experts in order to get the right answers. Unfortunately, we have people in our business that feel that just because they've achieved a certain rank, and I say achieved, not earned, that they automatically know everything, and everything that they say comes from their expertise built into their rank. Well, we all know that that's crap. Just because you have rank does not mean that you're the smartest person in the room. There are so many people out there that are way smarter than most of the chiefs that we have in our organization because of the backgrounds and experiences that they have. They have to be recognized. So what that makes for is when you have people like that, they're in positions of authority, it brings down morale. It just drags everything down. You don't impress me with your fancy degrees. You don't impress me with the rank that you achieve. What you impress me with is your demeanor, how you treat people, and the experiences that you have, and being able to recognize any blind spots that you have or your shortcomings. So when you're in a position of authority, like a chief officer, and you're responsible to promote senior staff. You want to make sure that you're promoting people that can cover the areas that you aren't the most savvy in, which is perfectly normal. Not there's nobody knows everything there is to know about the business that we're in. There's a saying out there that the higher you go in an organization, the less you know about what's going on in the ranks below you. And that's more evident now than ever. And if you take the fire service, for example, think about somebody that's got 20 or 30 years on the job that went through EMT or went through firefighter one or even has hazardous materials. What things are they learning now in those classes that you didn't know? I can tell you that when I took EMT, it was 90 hours long. Now it's up to about 220 hours. So you don't think that there is things out there that I didn't learn when I went through that class many years ago that they're teaching now. Now, fortunately, we have research and things like that. But we don't research in firefighting classes. It's imperative, and it all comes back full circle. Some of the things that I've talked about in the past that you got to constantly learn. But when it comes to things that you don't know, don't fake it. Ask questions. It's okay to ask questions if you're the boss. Heck, it's okay for the fire chief to ask a driver of an engine company a question about the engine. It would make no sense to spec out a new piece of apparatus that you don't drive, have never had the experience of driving, don't know how to drive it, have never ridden that piece of apparatus, yet you're going to try and spec out that piece of apparatus. It's the same that holds true across the board. It's important that we recognize what we are good and what we're not good at. And then we have the people that are around us that can help us with those shortcomings. I tell new and upcoming officers all the time, look, as you get promoted through the ranks, make sure that you have somebody that you can talk to that can help you along the way, because you're not going to know everything there is in the job. People that try to fumble through it and just make bad decision after bad decision and they don't learn from it, you're setting yourself up for a pretty shitty career. Not only that, you're not going to have anybody that's ever going to want to follow you, and you're never going to be a successful leader in an organization. But to be able to have mechanisms in place, people in place that you can make a phone call because you have a question is imperative. I still find myself calling people that have retired from the job that were excellent engine drivers to bounce pump operation questions off of them, because I'm not driving the fire engine anymore as a chief officer. I'm not stuck sitting on a pump panel pumping a fire. But if I have a question about something of that nature, I know that I have resources that I can actually pick up the phone and make a phone call. So I do my best to recognize what my blind spots are. And I really, really do my best to understand that if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm very transparent about it. I tell them I don't know, but I will find that information out and I'll get that information back to you in a timely manner. People will respect you more for saying that you don't know something. Go find the answer and then give them that information. Now you've taught them something and you've also learned something. So in a nutshell, and this is going to be a relatively short rant, don't be the person that thinks they know everything based on the rank that they have, because in the end, you're going to be a crappy boss and you're going to bring morale down. Make sure that your blind spots are covered. The things you don't know are covered by using subject matter experts. Make sure that you are humble enough and you can put your ego in check so you can ask questions to somebody who may be a firefighter or maybe a technician that can give you a good answer. Don't try to go it alone. The people that try to go it alone end up being a disaster for the organization. So make sure that you're not suffering from the Dunning Kruger effect. If you recognize somebody who is, and you're not in a position to be able to ease them in the right direction, maybe there's subordinates underneath that can kind of help them out in the areas that they are kind of lacking in. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're working for a boss who's just outright dangerous, you need to make sure that not only you're protecting yourself, but you're protecting anybody else that's underneath of you that you're responsible for. Again, thanks for listening. And to hear more, tune in every 2 weeks. I do a podcast for the Please Suck Less podcast every 2 weeks about a different topic that's been on my mind. You can catch me on Instagram, where I post stuff at least every couple of days, maybe once a week. Thanks a lot for listening. Be safe. Don't suck. Do better. Thanks for listening to the Please Suck Less podcast. If you like what you hear, you can send us a note through Instagram at Please Suck Less. There you can just send us a message. Thanks for listening.